All right, good morning. How is everybody? Let's see. Oh, look, you're looking at the piece there. Well, how about that? Let me just hit another button over here. Get my fan adjusted. Good morning, everybody. I hope I don't have my head cut off. Hey, Jeff. I'll have to look at the screen here in a second. I have got everything changed around a little bit, but nonetheless, let's do our introductions. Good morning. This is Monday Methods. I am Bradley McCalister, and it does look like my head is cut off. So it looks like I'm going to have to make a little bit of a change, because when I'm working back here, my head won't be cut off. I got the shop all changed around today because of the way I've got this set up doing the outboard. So things are a little bit different. So I'm going to walk over here. I'm going to change this camera real quick. I'm going to put you back on that shot. And I'm going to pull out on the front camera. I thought I had everything all set, but obviously I was mistaken, which would not be the first time. Let's see how that works. I hope everybody's doing well today. Hey, there, now you can see my hair get all sweaty today. Good deal. All right, I think that's better. Looks like I'll watch over here in the monitor and see. Jeff Peters, Dennis, Art Miller's in here. Restream IO says, hey, of course that would be me. There's my dad. Says, yep, missing the top of my head, but I think I got my head back now, Dad. Again, Monday Methods. I am Bradley McCalister. I was thinking about this today. I should say Bradley McCalister, founder of Spirocraft. And another little milestone, I was checking through the Facebook videos, and right around now in August, it's been just about a year. So this is almost officially or unofficially the anniversary of Monday Methods. The first one I did was next door over in the shop. It wasn't even really, I think it was called Monday Madness or Monday Morning Madness or something like that. And I was just playing with the pressure pot. Looking through my Facebook videos, it said it was about a year ago. I know it was sometime in August. So I think that's a good deal. We're approaching our anniversary of Monday Methods. Makes me happy, which is cool. Word of information, word of note to you, next door over here, literally about 30 feet away, they're cutting down pine trees that are 25, 30 inches in diameter and about 100 feet tall. Right here, right next to me. So you'll probably hear some chainsaws running. Hopefully the electronics on the microphone will keep that cut out. If a big tree comes crashing down, I think they've got them all down, but yep, okay, they're all on the ground now. We had some wind here, and the neighbor lost their power to their house, and so now they're having all the trees around their house cut down, which I understand. But there'll be some chainsaws running over there in the background. So, Larry Jordan, good morning from sunny South Florida. Well, good morning from sticky, humid South Georgia. This is a project some of you might have been following over the weekend, this large piece behind me. I've been having a lot of fun. This is what I'm referring to as a hybrid platter. It was 26 inches in diameter. I'll jump over here. All my cameras are on different things now, so I kind of have to look and see what you get. This platter was 26 inches in diameter originally when I started, and I whittled it down to about 20, 21, 22, and it's right about 21 now. And this project, I have decided to take a direction of trying to utilize, and actually I'm not trying, I've done it, I'm doing it, utilize the wood blank as the mold for the resin. Now I'm going to actually unscrew this for a second to show you the back side, because I got it on a big old faceplate, and I'm set up for outboard turning here. So that's why I say things are a little bit different in the shop today. But you guys work with me, I know that. And I think I'm going to bring this over to the table. And yeah, that'll work. You can see it on the table here. So good deal. Now another thing, because if you're a regular here, you know I use chroma key, a green screen in the background with the cameras. It's kind of set a little bit differently today, and the lighting is not exactly optimized for this setup. So you'll see some strange things, like maybe some green shadows here and there. The window might be down on the floor when I change the camera. I mean, I could change it, turn it off, and have it just be green. So you may see some strange things. The window may be, in an odd place in the background on the wall. Just so there's a heads up there. Now, what you see here, and it's really interesting, what I'm seeing, I see two different things. I have to look at the monitor. So you see, in my big monitor, I see a bunch of black in here, but that's just reflections from the light. So on Saturday, I poured this full of resin. It is a 1/2 inch deep out here at the very edge, and then it's about 3/8 of an inch deep just as you go in, and then it gets a little bit deeper, and then right in the middle, probably 4-inch center section, it's about 1 inch deep right in the very center, and it kind of tapers up. Now this is the back side, okay? This is our resin backside. This isn't really a resin piece per se, but it's got some potential for some things that we're going to try to utilize this whole new concept that I'm working on. I mean, I don't think I created it. Maybe it's not new. Maybe nobody else has done this before. I don't know. I'm not making that claim. But the resin is going to be part of what happens on the front side. But we have utilized the resin as a backing and part of the design for this piece of wood. Now, this piece of wood, as I'll turn it around, is what some people have told me that it is destined for nothing but the firewood pile. I have to disagree. I think it's always fun to see what you can make out of what might otherwise be a firewood piece of wood. Sometimes it takes a little extra effort out of this project. So yeah, you could have easily thrown this away. Out of this project, though, we will learn a whole lot of things, a whole lot of new techniques and things that we can try, ways to make a new piece, and a hybrid piece, using this process of using the wood as a mold and having the resin come through. So right now, the faceplate being here, when all this gets turned away, my plan is to expose this resin that's 1 inch deep on the back, expose that resin in the center of the piece, okay? And also the wooden edge here, let me turn this without crashing, this wooden edge is going to get turned away. Now, a little history on this piece. It is just a butt cut off of the big sycamore tree that I bought several years ago, and I've been turning on sycamore forever. This is the butt cut, the bottom of the tree. So it is pure end grain. It's 3 years old now. It was never sealed. I didn't do anything with it but cut it off and let it hang around. So you see here, this is a crack that I filled with expanding foam to do my resin pour on the background. Did I get any pine cones from next door? No, those trees don't seem to have pine cones, Jeff. So this is all end grain. It's punky. I mean, there's places where I can dig in this wood with my finger and dig it out. But it's also got some ambrosia, and it's got spalting to it. So it's a difficult piece of wood. Now, Brian, oh God, I forget Brian Bush last night, he was telling me how he enjoyed what I'm trying to do with this. And a couple days ago, he was saying, well, I should go ahead and stabilize this. Well, this would be a great candidate for putting in a stabilizing resin and stabilizing, but I don't happen to have a vacuum chamber that is this big, at least not yet. And he said, well, you need to upgrade. So this piece could have been stabilized, and it would have made a world of difference in how it turns, because right now it does not turn well. Hey, Rich is here. Good morning, Rich. Welcome to the party. This piece is so soft and punky, it doesn't turn well. I have no illusions that it's going to. I've got a number of tools I've kind of got laid out here. I'm going to try some different things. But my goal, and I'm going to be right up front, is not to get the perfect cut on this piece of wood today. That's really not what I'm here to try and figure out. It's more this process of using the resin as a backer and also part of the design in the end. So there's a lot of things I can do later. Once I get this turned to where I want it, I'll probably stay a little shy on the depth of the cut, just short, and then I'll come back with this nasty punky wood and I'll seal it. I might seal it with lacquer. I might seal it with just a wood sealer. I can seal it with resin. But here's where the little rub comes in. I want to use one of the aniline dye colors on this piece of wood. I've never planned to leave it natural looking, so I want to color it. So it's a catch-22. If I seal the wood, all this nasty end grain, that's all soft and punky and doesn't cut well, if I seal it so that it will cut well, then it won't take the dye as well. Flip side is I have discovered, as some of you may know, I don't know if this will stand on its own or not, I don't think it will. One thing I have found, this little piece of resin right here, with the dyes, I don't know if you remember me doing this piece, this was dyed after the resin was turned and sanded and all, and I can put the aniline dye right on a resin and get a new color. So I may be able to get a coloration on here that I'm happy with after I seal it. Rich says 50-50 resin and DNA can also work. Thins it up enough to soak in, and then the DNA evaporates. That's right, Rich, that would work. So I've got a number of options there. And I worked on this piece all day Saturday. I jumped on a couple of live streams out here. If you hadn't seen those, they're on the Spiralcraft page. Well, they were, but Facebook did some weird things with the live stream this weekend, and people saw that, but you couldn't go back. The replays, I couldn't get them to work. They started at the very end. So I put them back on the Facebook page, Spiralcraft Facebook page, with the YouTube link. And it was not, planned or anything, so I was just out here working. But you can go watch the 2 stages of making this piece on Saturday. They're up on our YouTube channel. So if you've missed those, that gives you a whole lot of background, because I knew that I couldn't possibly get it all in here at one time, in 2 hours this morning. It's a lot of work to do this piece. Jess says, what brand of faceplate is that, and do you sell those? This is a Carter Products faceplate, and I do sell Carter products. I do not have this one in the store, but they would be happy to have me put it in the store. It's actually pretty cool. It's called a face-off, and you can leave the faceplate mounted, and if I had the right tool around here, you can actually take off. I probably don't have anything handy that's going to fit. You can take off the threaded part and leave the faceplate attached, and take your collet, if you will, or your collar, and put it on another faceplate. I should put these in the store into the faceplate category. Jeff, if you want one, or anybody else wants ones, just say yes in here, or shoot me a text, a message, send me an email, and I'll pop them in the store. They're aluminum. They're lightweight. They're pretty cool. There's a whole long list of them, and in any of the Carter products that relate to wood turning, I am the Spiralcraft can sell. It's just something I haven't got in there yet, but yeah, I'd be happy to jump them in there for you. They're pretty cool. I've got them in different sizes, and I've actually used to use them a lot, and this one fit the bill exactly, because you notice I didn't even count how many screws are in here, but it's a whole bunch. Because again, this end grain doesn't have much strength. The wood is split all to pieces, so I wanted as many screws as I could get in this big old guy. All right. So the foam here. There's some cracks here. The foam here. I filled the foam on the back side before I put the resin in, where all the cracks are, and you can kind of see this white line. I think you can. It looks black on my screen. I filled all the big cracks from the back side with the resin, or with the foam. And then some of it came through to the front side, and that's okay. And I'll probably have to dig it out. I was thinking that I could, and this was a mistake I made after the fact. I didn't do enough research. I was thinking that I could dissolve it like many other foams with acetone or MEK. Apparently, this polyurethane foam doesn't dissolve. This is it's great stuff, window foam. It doesn't dissolve with any solvents after it's cured, so I may have shot myself in the foot a little bit, but I'll dig it out of there because I want to fill this crack and that crack, etc., with whatever highlight color I choose to use. Okay? So if that's making sense, I think I'll go ahead and put this guy back on the lathe. So I'm going to be working with both conventional style tools today and the negative rate carbide cutters from EasyWood, because I'm going to be working in the resin. And again, I'm working back here. Things are different with the setup because I'm on the outboard fashion. So it's a little bit different. And I'm still on that camera. So one thing I was going to show you down below, I don't know if you can't see it. Oh yeah, you can see it there. I've set this down on the outboard extension. I'm going to work on the very edge of the piece first. I'm going to make it round again and turn this outer edge. What I have found with a setup like this, when you can do it, leave the banjo back up on the lathe. Okay, it allows you to get to the edge without having to have all that extra weight, because there's a whole lot of leverage out on the very outer edge of the piece, right? So if we're up here on the ways of the bed, we can reach the edge of the piece with our banjo, and we don't have to worry about any flex or anything like that. So it works out pretty well. So that's why at the moment the banjo is up here. All right. Get this guy back on here. Now this thing, turning this wood is a dusty mess. I did sweep up today. The shop studio is going to get a major cleaning when this is over. So I can see that because of some shadows, you see that green artifact thing going on back there. That's just kind of the way it's going to be. Hey, you can see my fan too, but I need the fan. So I'm going to bop this tool rest over to the side here now. All right, and I'm going to snug that up, and that's good. Make sure everything's tight here. Unlock my spindle. Now it's still pretty round, and like I say, I'm pretty keen. I'm happy with this concept that I'm working on here for using the wood as a mold. Now I got to get my controls over here, and again, without changing cameras all the time, I'm going to walk in front of you a little bit here and there, and that's just going to have to be a little bit of how it is, which I apologize for, because the room is only so big. Okay? Now, before I really get rolling here, oh, and also I'm going to put a recess in the back of this, so it won't have a tenon, it's going to have a recess, so when it's turned, it will be done. I wish my controller over there was over here, but it's screwed to the floor, bolted to the floor, so we're kind of stuck with that. Okay, pop me any questions that you've got before I kind of get started in here on this. Taking the edge off, I am going to change the camera. I'll probably start out with a carbide tool, because I'll take the wood away quickly, and then I'll be hitting the resin band, and you'll be able to see that appear pretty quick. And I'm going to adjust my fan, because it is humid today. It's not hot, it's just humid. So let me walk over here, and I'm going to pick, I think probably, let's see, that should be, that's that camera there. Let me go with this camera, and I'm going to take a look. I apologize, because I have to kind of work some of this out. So it looks like when I'm working, I will not be in the way, and you'll be able to see this as I cut this. All right, good deal. I do have to walk back and forth to get some of the tools over there. I see some of the green patches there because I'm putting shadows on the wall. So again, pay no attention to those artifacts. All right. Let's find a speed for this guy. We haven't set a speed yet. It is heavy. It's out of balance just by the nature of the piece of wood. So it doesn't want to turn real fast just yet. And another thing, if you haven't turned outboard before, I have found that having the piece running this way down the lathe, parallel with the ways of the bed, is much more stable than having it going off the end. Okay, you can turn off the end, and you can turn a bigger piece, but you only have the strength or the stability of the 16-inch wide legs. Here I've got 4 feet of strength, and it looks like that's trying to get out of focus, so I'm going to, thought I had put that camera on manual, so I'm going to stop real quick, and I'm going to change over to another camera, and I'm going to jump up here and make sure that this camera is on manual, because it's supposed to be, but it's on autofocus. So let me get it focused there, and then set it on manual, and that should do the trick. If you had 2 banjos, would it be dueling banjos? Yeah, Jeff, it would be dueling banjos. Okay, Hopefully that's going to look a little bit more in focus now. We'll turn our speed back on and see how that looks. What kind of a speed can I get here today? Around 500 she starts to shake. You know, I want as much as I can get because we also were unsupported. Sometimes you can get past it if you get past that harmonic shake. Now that my crack is closed up, there we go. So it's a little scary, but about 775 is not shaking too bad. If I go back down, and I'll go through the bad shakes, because this lathe is not bolted and I'm on a plywood floor, I can turn about 500. And that's actually where I'll start. Looks like about 500 is a good number to start at. Okay. Why not leave a wooden edge on the side? My dad says. Dad, because I thought about that again this morning, because I just want the look of the pink resin as a band, an outer band on the piece. It might be the right decision, it might be the wrong decision, because it's going to give a profile to the wood on the inside. That's my theory. Like I said, I could be right, I could be wrong, it could be the worst decision I've ever made, but I don't think so. It may not be the best looking piece that way, but that's what I did. I just wanted that outer band of resin on the outside. So that's why I did that, Pop. Okay. So we're going to use Carbide Cutter. I'll start with a standard cutter that's not negative rake until I get down to the resin. Now I'm going to raise this tool rest, and I'm going to break the rules and raise it up with not turn the machine off, because it takes a long time to get it to stop. The motor braking won't completely stop this much mass. Okay, so you are seeing it from there. Everything seems to look okay. All right. It's going to make a big old mess. You guys let me know if anything doesn't look right. I see green all around my hands, but you understand that. Okay, so there comes the resin. The resin just showed up and you could hear the difference. So I'm going to switch to the negative rake cutter now. Take off the last of the wood. And begin to expose that band of resin. Alright, I've already thoroughly made a mess and I've only been turning for 2 minutes. So we can see now the band of pink of the resin on the side. Alright, now this may or may not show on the front side by the time I get all done with this guy, I don't know. Now while I'm still here, and there's no good way for me to show you this, I'm going to reach in here and kind of true up this front side. This warped a little bit when it went up to 125 degrees. I did come check it about 4 hours into the curing. Like I know Rich would be really curious about this, and the piece was at 125 degrees. It wasn't in a pressure pot. I just had it laying out here. So it looked like about 125. I don't think it had gotten hotter than that. And also, for what it's worth, the center where it's deeper, that was 125. Out here was about 93, where it's much thinner. And I hit stop on it. So now I'm just going to clean up this backside, get it true. So I can work on a little more speed. Then we'll be turning this thing around after we make the tenon. It's really dark back there on that back side right now. Okay. Good deal. Now it's time to come around, take my mask off and get air while I can. Change things around a little bit. I'll put my banjo down to, let me step around the other side over here. I don't know if that's the right or wrong thing to do. Trying to keep my head out of the way. There we go. And we put in our post, and I'm going to move the headstock too. So things are going to change a little bit. So this is our basic configuration that we're going to now. Change things around. I'm going to slide the headstock down, which hopefully I don't have to adjust any of the cameras for. Okay? I'll go to the front camera here for a second so you can see what I'm doing. So we were further down over here, now we're coming more over our support. Remember, I only have to reach halfway. But I do have to reach the outer edge. Now I can also, depending on what my needs are, I can swing the banjo around. And that may be a better way to go. Just trying to find the optimum location, and it may just have to change. I may have to move it here and there to get what I need. Hey, Jerry's here. Jerry Meesmer, good to see you, buddy. What do you think? We're making a giant resin taco kind of looking thing. I'm having fun as always. I hope you're doing well, Jerry. I got to get you over here, Jerry, and we can do one of these together. All right, so we've changed that around. So now I want to clean up the backside and begin to make my work on my recess. I think the best camera angle for that is going to be this one, where I can work and you'll be able to see, and I won't be walking in front of the camera. Got your strange green spot over there. I get that, but that's not going to be too bad. So first thing I'll do is I'll just get this cleaned up because it's sunk in the middle. All right, it did a little sink in there. And remember, part of the purpose of all this resin was to help hold this whole thing together. It's like a big giant backer plate, if you can think of it that way. I'm going to walk around here underneath this camera. They're running the chainsaws. I hope you don't hear them too much. Okay. And back to my negative rate cutter, wherever I tossed it there. I had it just a minute ago, I know. There it is. It's funny how you put things places and you can't keep track of them. Okay, so we got that view going. You can see there, pay no attention to all the green craziness on the walls. I know I set that camera. Let's see what happens if it stays looking focused. I'm going to watch this for about 20 seconds and make sure that it doesn't look too crazy on the screen to you. because there's a delay, a 20-second delay between reality and Facebook. We'll be raising that tool rest up. Hope they don't hit. Whoa, that was a big one. I don't know if you guys could hear that. They just dropped another 100-footer right there. Took out some limbs from the oak tree. It's kind of scary working in here with guys dropping big giant trees over there. Okay, that looks relatively good for a Facebook feed. Again, it's not perfect. I'm going to go ahead and raise this up. It'll take us a little bit of work to get this clean. Get her clean and flat. And one of the things I was thinking about this morning while I was having breakfast that I want to explain. Somebody was kind of questioning why am I doing this, and the amount of resin that I've used and one thing and another. One of the purposes, as far as I'm concerned, for what I do out here with Monday Methods is to try new things, show you new things, be willing to experiment. And I'm not trying to say that anybody needs to run out and make a 20-something inch resin-backed platter. But all the different techniques and approaches that I'm trying here, that's what this is about, to show you that there are different ways that may not be the norm, may not be what everybody does, and that's not the way how so-and-so does it maybe. But it's about trying new things. And if I use a little extra resin than somebody else might have to show you something new, I don't have a problem with that. I'm here to teach and help you find new ways to do things. Try and explore new avenues. That's what this is really all about. I'm not particularly worried about the cost, relatively speaking. It's about coming up with new things and new ways and helping to inspire you to try new things yourself. Okay? That's what this is really all about. I'm going to go back down below that bounce, even though I think she's pretty solid. I've got inch screws in it, but I'll go ahead and let it clunk a little bit at first here, because it's pretty out of whack on the back side here. Because it shakes, I see it shaking on your view. It's all an experiment. And it's all good. Jeff says, I missed the Saturday demo. Does these have air bubbles because of not being in the pressure pot? Jeff, the only bubbles are just a few on the very surface that I have seen. Now we'll find out more as we cut into this. Because it wasn't very thick, I mean the thickest portion is an inch, and this is a 2-hour open time. The Chromacraft resin we carry is a 2-hour open time. It had time for the air to rise to the surface and the bubbles to pop out. It is kind of interesting how when it settled in the middle, You know, you would think it would have stayed dead flat, but it didn't, surprisingly. Especially right in this center section out here. I'm going to stop this for a second, take a look and see what I got going on. Never hurts to take a look. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting there. You can still see the shiny spots or the low spots. All right. This may not end up with that much of a band on the outside edge, just because the center is less, but who knows? Who knows what this will look like when I get all said and done. I'm looking forward to having the resin pop out the front side and see what that looks like. The biggest piece of resin I've ever turned, I know that. And I'm going to have to stop for a second, because the tool's gotten hot enough that I can't quite hold on to it. So we'll give that a break. Okay. We're almost where we want to be, just getting her flat. This guy's getting really hot, and that's a lot of working. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn this cutter around while we're taking a break. So hopefully I didn't walk in front of the camera. And if you got a question, it's a great time to pop it up since I'm over here at the table. And hopefully not in the way. Well, I'll go like this, and then we can talk to each other this way. All right? While I'm turning this cutter and letting it cool off. Yep, Jerry, it's a big taco pattern. You added the wall. Yep, I added the wall, Jerry. The wall is pretty cool. The wall and the window. It was kind of scary when they dropped that big old tree over there. Mostly because I saw oak limbs coming with it. I don't know if you guys can hear the chainsaws in the background or not. All right. Like I said, I'm waiting for the 30-second delay on any kind of questions before I jump over there. And I might just take a second to get myself a sip of something cool to drink, if you guys don't mind, because it's kind of sticky in here today. So I'm just going to step right over here for just a second there. So let's see. While we're here taking a break and letting that cool off, what is our diameter now? We are 21 7/8 is our overall diameter for the piece. Okay. Now, you know, I don't have a leg on this. It's kind of just the way it's set up, and I'm getting a little bit of flex just because the lathe isn't bolted down or anything else. I am going to move the banjo in a little bit closer, tool rest a little bit closer. And also, I think while I'm going to do this while we're waiting. Like I said, I want to let this tool cool off. It was getting pretty hot to hold. I'm going to lay it over here. And I'm going to turn the fan on me for a second, speaking of warm. And I'm going to change the jaws on the chuck. We'll go to 3.5-inch jaws. Now, when I'm up here, I might be getting my head cut off a little bit. I'm not sure. Just go ahead and change the jaws on this chuck. And then I'll set my calipers for my recess. And I decided to recess because then I'll be done with this guy. And it's the kind of piece that might hang on a wall. Might be a wall hanging. Art says chainsaw once in a while, not a problem. Good. Thank you for that update there, Art. Because I'm watching them out the window. One of the real windows. You can't see anything out the back window. Although, I'll tell you, the picture on the back wall there is, when I step over to the side, that barn is real. And that pecan grove, that's a picture I took on the way when I go over to Chromacraft, because Chromacraft is about 30 minutes from here, over a little town called Brooklet. And on the back road is that barn. And there's an old house there and all kinds of stuff. It's just real neat. I've always liked it. So I took a picture of it one time. And I said, that would make a great backdrop. Will I polish the bottom? Art, probably not. Realistically, I probably won't. What's in my calipers here that won't let it turn? But I might. You never know. It would be a lot of work. I could. I'm not going to promise that I would polish it back. As far as I'm concerned, if it's hanging on a wall or sitting on a table, depends on how good the front comes out. I guess that's my answer. If the front really looks nice, and maybe I decided that you might want to see the back, I might polish it. Really hadn't thought about it, to be quite honest. I guess it's been so long since I've had this open, the threads are all full of stuff, whatever that stuff might be. There we go. So I'll use this to set make my recess. And again, the recesses are not a field that I spend a lot of time in. New EasyWood Tools template for the jaws. I said, well, Lewis, EasyWood Tools hasn't sent me the new template for the jaws, so I don't have it to use. Need to send him a note and tell him send me some of that new product. There. Okay, so I'm set with that. I'm happy with that. Okay, let's go back to turning here. And I think, what was it, the camera we were happy with? That one. That one. I can't remember which. I think we were happy with that one right there. Okay. Re-aim the fan on yours truly. Yep, again, pay no attention to all those funny green things. Hey, look how the window is down below the lathe bed there. Well, truth is stranger than fiction. All right, let's fire this guy back up. We'll keep it. I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna keep it down below the first wobble and see what I get. It actually sank in the middle much more than I anticipated. I mean, I knew the wood would absorb resin. I didn't know how much. I think when I turned that cutter, I turned it to an already used side. It's the thing about negative rake cutters. You can't see where they were. So I think I turned it to the used side. So I'm going to turn this back real quick, because it's not cut in as well as it was before. And no, of course I don't have any extra CI3 NRs with me here. I was thinking this one was pretty fresh. Ow, that's hot. Call Jim. There we go. So she's running a lot smoother. We're up at, that's 730 right now. 730 RPMs, running much smoother as we've gotten this flatter. Now this resin is really only, I poured it Saturday afternoon, so it's 48 hours old. It's really not in its full cure yet. Let's try a little something here, out of curiosity. I switched over to a radius negative rake. See if that won't clean up a little bit more for us. Still got some hop right in there. It's a lot of real estate. Let's see if it looks like I still have one shiny ring in the middle of this right here. Bring the speed back down to where we can stop it. So this ring right in here is still not quite cutting. Okay. And I'm not going to spend a long time back here because I want to spend more time on the front. And there's probably still a bit of flex in this, because again, I've only got a ½ an inch of resin out here that's holding this really soft wood. We're getting there slowly on it. We're getting there. Okay, I think I'm going to go to work on the tendon because I don't want to spend too terribly long back here messing with this. I can always reach in back around the back side later on and clean this up. So the angle that I'm at right now for you guys, I need to be on, I'm going to change cameras on you. I'm going to go to that camera, which will allow me to get into the middle here and hopefully not get in the way too much. Get some of the stuff off of me. So, is that the camera angle you were saying switch to the other camera angle there, Dad, that I just switched to? I'm guessing it is. All right. And so to better facilitate getting in here on this, I'm going to turn this banjo around. So I've got some more support right underneath it as I make this cut. All right, there we go. Now, I'm going to take, where is my little pointy guy? These resin recesses are, like I say, kind of new to me. I'm still working out on how to do them just off the top of my head. And the other thing I need to do here real quick is turn all this around. There we go. Got a lot of adjusters. When you're using an outboard system, always check and make sure all your different locking mechanisms are in the right place and where you can get to them, and everything's tight. It's easy to miss one. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3 different lockdowns right now that I'm dealing with. Banjo itself, the riser post, and the tool rest. Okay, so I'm a mess. You should have seen this place before I cleaned it up. Okay, get my tool back up here. I'm just going to set the outside parameter on this, and then I'll go to work cutting out for the recess. Now I'm going to have it running a little, pretty slow, not super slow, but I don't want it super fast on this either. I just want to get this laid out. I don't want to make it twice. So that looks just about right. That's just right on the money. I don't know if you can see that little cut or not. This is a little micro detailer with a CI7 negative rate cutter in it. Okay, we'll keep that one handy. I'm going to grab the micro with the CI5 in it. We'll start to take some material out of here. Now hopefully that camera angle's working pretty well. I'll look up at the Facebook monitor. It looks like you can see what I'm doing without me being in the way pretty well. The one thing I need to talk to Easywood about, I've talked to it about here, but I keep forgetting to call it. When I talk to Jim, Jerry says he'll be coming down in a couple months. It'd be great. Yeah, Jerry, keep me posted. I'll give you a call. You definitely call me when you're coming down here. We'll set something up, and I'll have you out here in the illustrious studio. We'll do a live stream together. I would love to. That'd be fantastic. I want Easywood to make a square negative rake so you can really cut square shoulders, because all we have in the square is the radius one right now. And I'm going to move this tool rest in, and I'm not going to shut this down, so don't report me to the safety police. I'm going to take the radius one, and I'm going to kind of come down this wall. Sure that's in there tight. It's the little teeny guy. Because we will make a dovetail, but we still need to come down the wall and get our flat. I just want to have a little bit of a wall to look at there. And I do want it to be 3/8 of an inch deep, so that my jaws get the best purchase on it that they possibly can. Take some more of this out with the round cutter. All right. And I don't know if you can tell, I've left the very, very mark, little teeny, it's probably too hard to see, you can see that little teeny white line. That's my actual reference mark. And like I said, this resin here is an inch deep, or an inch thick. And I might have, I don't have a negative rake in the big one on here. I don't, do I? No. I'm going to use one to check, I'm going to use a different one to check my my depth here real quick. Okay, still got a little ways to go. That's all good. So we'll take some more out with the round cutter, because then we're going to put a dovetail in it all. Now it'll be interesting. I'm excited to get this thing turned around and play with the front side, but I have to do this right. We don't want it having a bad tenon hole in it. So we want to make sure we do this properly. Now I'm tempted not to even bother taking all this out. I don't really need to. Okay. Back with my radius style square cutter. So I'm looking over here at the wall, okay? Listening to the chainsaw outside the window. Okay, that's probably pretty close to what I want for my depth. Yep, that's right what I want. So that's the depth I want. If I go too far, then I'll be sitting down on the bottom of the chuck, and I don't want that. Now, if I find out, and I'm going to check this with the chuck before I ever turn it loose. If I find that out, then I can take a little bit away here, if I think that's the case. Okay, so now I'll cut the dovetail. And I need to back this up just a fuzz now. Again, don't report me. to match our dovetail jaws. We want the best grip we can possibly get. And I'm watching that cut right down to the bottom there. Okay, and I'm going to stop this now and check to make sure I got that the way I want it. I might tune it just a little bit. Okay, I've got a little bit of a lip right there that the jaws would sit on. There's a little lip right in here. So I want to make sure I get rid of that little lip. And I'll continue to use a little diamond pointed tool here to do that. And I'll just kind of go sideways with it and take care of that little lip right there. Hopefully my head's not in your way. I do kind of have to look over here to see this. Yeah, that feels a lot better. Uh-oh. When tree guys yell, whoa, one must look out the window. Oh, they're just loading the truck. Okay. I'm safe. Okay, let's test fit our tenon. Sorby, I've been using my easy tools for cutting tenons. It works great on birdhouses. I attached a Sorby attachment so I can do repeat tenons. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was going to bring, I didn't have time, I thought about it too late today. I was going to bring in a shear cup carbide cutter from Carter Products, as a matter of fact, for the hollowing system. And I was going to put it on the tool handle and use it for cutting this outside, the front, to see how it did on this wood. Okay, so what I'm looking for is to make sure that I have a gap, and I know you won't be able to see this without me zooming in. I've got just a little space right in here, so I'm not touching the bottom of the jaws. I'm fully on the jaws, and they're expanding and holding the tenon very well. Okay. Now my gap is maybe a little big right there. So out of curiosity, I'm going to spin this just like that. Take this out of the way. And so that turns nice and true, at least as much as the shake in the lathe allows. So I think we're pretty good. So that's how that chuck is mounted in there now. All right, and that's what's going to be holding this guy. And that's all that's going to be holding it, because when we're turning outboard like this, we do not have the luxury of a tailstock. And I'm going to take my mask off for a minute, get a little fresh air. And while we do that, and I'm going to have a quick sip. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Now we're going to get around to the pretty side. Just now a little after 11. So time to come around to the pretty side. But also the tough, difficult side to turn. I say pretty in that it's where all the wood is. All right, and I'm going to come up here to the table and take a break and take the screws out. So I'll jump to here so I can say hello again, and we'll take the screws out of this guy as soon as I get the battery. It's over here charging. There we go. All right. I'm having fun. Carrie, you're not sure what I'm turning, but it looks awesome. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I am turning a hybrid platter. So it's half resin, half wood. The wood is spalted ambrosia sycamore end grain. So I made it just about as difficult as possible on myself. It's about 21 inches in diameter. The resin has dual purpose. It's a backing plate for the soft, unstable wood. Had big crack in it, or cracks. It's also going to be theoretically a highlight feature in the center and possibly out on an edge. We'll see how that goes. Thank you for joining. If this is your first time, I appreciate it. And be sure you mark for notifications there on YouTube. You got Rich, you got olive wood. What? I wanted a piece of, what was that you had in your truck yesterday? I forget what you said that was. I want some of that. One more screw here. Would I run into any problem with the wood movement? Carrie, this is the first time I think that I have actually done it this way as well. Because the wood was too big to stabilize, I couldn't get it in the vacuum chamber. So it's just completely unstabilized. Now, I don't think it's going to move. It's 4 years dry. John says, talk loud, I'm on my dashboard. The wood is quite dry, and it's not very thick, so it's not going to move a lot. Looks like I kind of resin bonded my faceplate on here when a little bit of resin leaked through. And of course, I never have a hammer. Hammer is one thing I do not have in this shop, believe it or not. I got everything else in the world in here. So, let's see what we can use. How about a really junky looking old chisel? Skew, there we go. I don't know where I got this. Dad, did you give me this thing? I don't know what it is, but it's good for pry bar. What about wood hardener? Yeah, so what I'm going to do to make the wood solid is after I turn it pretty close to the shape and size I want, then I'm going to go ahead and put it on. Whatever it is I use to seal up the wood. Now I talked about this a little bit at the beginning. If I seal the wood, it was 4 inches thick when I started, and there was no way I could have sealed the whole thing and gotten it through all of that. It's 1.5 inches thick right now. Still no way I could have gotten it all the way through the wood to what's the final wood. So I'm going to turn away 90% of the wood. Then I will strengthen the fibers in the face of the wood. Then we'll go back and do the finish sanding and turn to it, let's say. So I've got to get it down close to where it's going to be. Otherwise, I'm just putting on sealer and then cutting it away. Sure, it would make that initial turning easier, but I'd just soon let it kind of chip away or do whatever it's going to do. Oh, and it says video was interrupted on Facebook. Well, that's not good. I don't know why it paused. Hopefully it comes back quickly. There was some buffering over the weekend. So I want to get this down close to where it's going to be before I start to do anything to lock the wood in. Oh, okay, Rich, the olive wood is what you use with the Chromacraft. I feel like I have to yell over the chainsaws now. Okay, so let's get this back on the lathe, facing out now. Of course, the guys next door have no idea that the world is listening to them on the internet, nor do they care. I know for a fact. Because they're cutting just outside it's only 6 feet to the property line, and they're cutting just outside the window here. Okay. So that's what we look like now. And again, I'll turn all this away, then I'll start to carve this away, and I want to expose this resin in the middle. And again, this band, which you can't see. Let's see if you can see it in any of the pictures. You can, not really, you can just see a little bit of a pink band in that other frame, but you'll see it later. I'll show it to you for sure. So I've got about a 1/2 inch, probably maybe even 3/8. Let me check this. Yeah, it's right about 3/8. There's a 3/8 band of resin supporting this. Now this here is a big giant crack, and I left that foam in there on purpose. All right, I'm just going to start cleaning this guy up. Some resin came through here, leaked through a little bit, and through the cracks. So it's time to make a big chippy mess. You tried out the marble Chromacraft stuff and loved it. Well, great. I'm not sure if you got it from us or not, but whatever you got and you need some more, you let me know. Marble, I'm trying to think what you might have been using. The Rustina, was it possibly the Rustina product that you were using? Or did you use some of the pigments, the pearlescent powders in the resin? Okay. Now, turning this end grain, it's just nasty. It's all soft and chunky and pulls out and does terrible things. But we're going to make the best of it. I pulled out, I'm going to try a couple things today. It may or may not work. This is the Sorby Spindle Master, which is a funny little tool that I used out on the road, and I showed you guys. Oh, okay, so you got the granite spin gems, Carrie. That's what you got. That stuff is awesome. I may try this. In theory, this is a giant spindle piece, except that it's just really short and really big around. And the other tool that I pulled out, which had been glued into my, where did I put it? I had it out here. I had a bunch of tools in a case, and this is Carter & Son. This is a 5/8 low profile spindle gouge, all right? And it was glued into a carry case over here because I had a bottle of black Staybon leak in the crate. But I got it unpried and unglued and cleaned it up. And then I've got a couple of my bowl gouges around. So we'll see what happens with this guy. All right. Probably that camera we were using before, which is the number 3, is probably the best view for you, so I don't get in the way of what's going on. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this. Now there is some resin right in here, so I'm actually going to use a negative rate carbide so I don't take the edge off of my bowl gouge and spindle gouge to start with. So I'll come back over here and just grab this negative rake, get her up to the center of things. There we go. Set my controller where I can control everything, make sure everything's locked down. I would love to be able to turn this thing up around 1,000 RPMs comfortably. We get some more mass out of it, maybe we'll be able to, as it'll cut so much cleaner. Get rid of that resin right there. Okay. Again, don't tell the police. So that's the spindle. Just trying the different ones, see what's working out here today. A little bit lower. Not super clean, but effective. Again, we're just getting rid of all this junky wood. That resin hurts, I can tell you that. Stop and move this a little bit, so now I don't need to be all the way over there. Probably need to turn my banjo the other way. Let me do that real quick. Change everything around. Now this will get filled with the cracks that are in it. Will get filled, and my plan has been to fill so here's a crack that you haven't seen. I'll dig that crack out, but then I still want to dye this piece in some fashion, and I haven't decided what color to go with. I have 2 more pieces of wood right off the same end of this that I probably am going to dye first. I'll sand them up and see what the colors look like, just to find out before I commit to the dye process on it. And Carrie, you say you got some negative rake bits, and wow, what a difference with the resin. I can finally turn honeycomb without chipping. Oh yeah, the negative rakes on resin are awesome. They're fantastic. Fantastic. I'm so glad that they brought them out. I'm not going to use that just yet. I'm going to grab another one over here. And I'm just going to try and get some material off of this. I'm going to see if I can't get up here and speed a little bit. One thing about when you're using the extremes of the tool rests and the banjos, you have to make sure that you've got things locked down because there's so much leverage. And I'm not one to usually wear a glove, but I'll tell you what, this wood is so dry, it is the devil coming off on your hand right there. Again, my plan for this piece all along is to be a decorative piece. It was never intended to be functional, unless it happened to turn out that way. Now at some point here we'll run into resin down in the middle there. And so what I'm going to do, hopefully I didn't have to reset that. What I'm going to do is I want to expose the resin in the middle and then work my way through all this. Because I may not make it. I say it's a platter, a wall hanging style platter. It could dome to the outside. There's a lot of different ways I can go with this. All right, so there's no set rule on this guy. It's whatever I feel like doing and making it look the best. And like I said, I left that foam in there. It just helps keep the tool from bouncing. And granted, this stuff looks like junk right now, but it will clean up. Big old crack right there in the middle of this. Even though there's a big crack in there, but that's why there's an inch of resin behind it. Then we're going to stop this for a second. I'm going to take a look and lower my tool rest. There's a world of colors in this thing for sure. Sounds like we might be getting to the resin. Let's see if I made it down to the resin there. I think I have. Maybe not. No. The resin has impregnated this. Okay, that's what I think is going on. So I'm going to switch over to a negative rate cutter now. So I'll raise my tool rest back up. Because the resin is making the other tools jump. So it's a mixed bag in here. We got softwood, super softwood, super softwood. We've got resin that's soaked into the softwood. So we got a lot of different things going on all at the same time. It is not, well, it's the perfect storm of bad things to try and cut, which is what makes it kind of fun and challenging. And I like a good challenge. Take her back up around 700 or so. Let's see what starts to happen in here. Kind of exploratory cuts here. You can definitely hear the resin there. So you can see that resin starting to appear. We'll go ahead and stop it. Now at first it's going to be full of, still chunky with wood. Okay. But there's my resin center, and I know that that's an inch thick. Or it was an inch thick. Right in there. Alright. So there's my center section. Now I know where that's at. So now I can play with, and I kind of like this little cup in the middle, and I can play with trying to get some cleaner cuts and taking this down some. Alright, I got lots of different approaches I can make and take. So let's see what happens. Now I'm going to put my left shoulder, I want to see if I can change cameras on you and have this work in that camera. I'm going to try coming the other direction here. Which would be a little strange. And let me know. I can't see the monitor, so I can't tell if I'm in the way or not. Let me look like this. I'll have to wait a second here and see if I'm in the way or not. My shoulder's in the way a little bit. Don't know a good one. Let me try this real quick. Pardon my back. And we'll see if this does what I want. If not, I'll turn back around. Okay, so although not perfect, first pass cutting from the inside back out, even though we're straight across the face of an end grain, is night and day difference on how well it cuts. It cuts 100% cleaner. It's not perfect because this stuff is pretty rough. Okay, so like I said, I kind of like what I've got, the look I've got going on here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come out here to the corner, and I'm going to roll this corner over. So I'm going to change the camera back to the one that was working for you before. And I'm going to come around this corner, drop this tool rest down. And just kind of roll this sharp corner, this big corner off a little bit. This is a blast. I'm having a ball. Again, this is a piece that's going to, theoretically, like say, hang on a wall or something, just something decorative. So I can do anything I want to here. I'm going to try and keep the spindle gouge out of the resin. And it may be that I should be using carbide here just in case. Although I won't get as clean a cut. I really would like to expose a band out here. Let's try this guy. Let's do something different here. I'd really like to expose the band of resin on the very outer edge. It's just in what I had in mind, and I really want to do it. Okay. It may or may not be the best thing, the right thing. You never know until you try. What I want to do is expose this band of resin and then taper my wood cut out to it. Does that make sense? I'm going to roll that corner over, take the sharp edge off of it. So this is a pretty amazing hybrid piece in that it's half resin, half wood, 21 inches in diameter. I'm really happy with the concept of the project because you can do this on a much smaller scale. You don't have to have a 21-inch piece of wood to do what I'm doing here today. To use this technique where you're going to have resin and wood and resin and wood, and you can work it all from the back. And I'll talk about that some more here in a little bit. As I go into depth about how I want to use a piece of wood as a mold and the things that we can do that normally fight us. If you're a resin caster, you know that anything that's specific gravity heavier than resin goes to the bottom. Well, if you make the bottom the top when you cast it, if we invert the process and you think it through, you can put things on the top in the end that are on the bottom when you first cast it. Opens up a whole new world of possibilities. And I saw that I had a little bit of wood still showing here, so I need to take a little bit more of this resin edge off. There we go. Now I've got my bead exposed, if you will. And I can do more or less with that as I go forward. Let me move over here to the middle while I'm in this position, because I want to try and explain this concept in case I run out of time, because it's 11:37. So I'm going to come in here and clean up this middle a little bit more, because I really want to talk about the concept that I've just touched on how we can use the wood and do some things to help us later on. I had a vision of like a star, and here a lot of different things. And give me a couple of minutes here. Let me get this cleaned up in the middle a little bit, and we'll talk about that. Because for me to cut this face, I'm going to have to block the view to make it clean. So, I may just leave that a little bit for now. So it doesn't hurt to use a negative rake out here on the wood. It's just a less aggressive cut. And that way when I do get to the resin, well, I'm already in the right tool. And I also know from when I cast this that this center section has a natural dome to it going the other direction, okay? There's some of my foam from what I was doing in there. So let me grab a round cutter and reach in here a little bit more. See, because I've got a variety of dimensions going on in here, so it gives me lots of opportunity for this piece to do different colors and bands, etc. I really like this idea. And I think you'll see some more of this coming out of me real soon. And I hope you guys give it a try as well, because there's a world of possibilities here. Okay. Drop this down a little bit. The resin came through some of the cracks in here. All right, that's getting real close to the concept that I had in mind. Now, before I stop turning, I'm going to try the spindle master. Like I said, I wanted to give this a try. I don't know if it's going to do what I want it to do or not. It's not. I'm not using it the way it was intended. Imagine that. Okay. So there's no telling what's going to happen. All right. I don't mind being the explorer. Well, doesn't want to do what I was thinking it would do. I'll have to experiment with that more. Because you ride this bevel back in here, and that's all there is, and then there's a flat top. But it didn't do what I wanted, so I'll experiment with that in the future. So, always try it before you go too far with it. Alright? Good deal. And do I want to take any more out of that? I should probably clean up that big divot I put in it now. Yeah, let me clean that divot up, then I'll stop. You don't know till you try something. So I'm going to change the camera back over to here. And we'll clean that face up real quick, so I don't feel super... That's the wrong camera, Brad. Let's go back over to that one. So I don't feel super bad about it. This won't take but a second. I got plenty of wood to work with. I think I'll roll this right on down out to my my resin lip. Now it's real thin because there's that big split out here, so the very edge is kind of noisy. Okay. So that, see how I've started to flare that down into, just kind of bring that down and easy taper it over. The other thing I could try, although normally it would not be the best choice, we're going to try this anyway. We're going to take a scraper, which is probably going to lift this up. But it never hurts to give different things a try with these crazy pieces of wood. This is not a negative rake scraper either, it's a standard scraper, Carter & Son 1-inch bowl scraper. Stay away from the resin. Okay. It'll definitely smooth out the tool marks. So what I'm doing is I'm working my way to the point where I will be ready to stabilize or seal this wood up so that I can get my last clean cuts on it. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so it did open it up, but it smoothed it out from the full feel of the piece come out of this mask. And I'm going to take this off the lathe and bring it over here to the table. So let me get some tools out of the way. And we'll talk about the final stages on what I think I'll do next, or what I know I'm going to do next, actually, and directions that I can go with this. So let me go here. I'll just go ahead and go to this. Take some of your turned funnels, Jeff. Yeah, this is a great way to work on those pieces that you're not sure what else to do with. You know, experimental wood is wonderful, because you can try things. You know, I wasn't worried about losing. I didn't have any money in this piece of wood, right? It's not like I went out and spent $100 on this blank or anything. And if you can work out a principle or concept on something that's not critical, then when you get the bugs worked out, well, by golly, I know I'm a mess, but that's my time. I'm 48. You work it out on a piece that isn't that much consequence. Now, I'm pretty sure you can see the profile that I've got going on here. All right, so it tapers out. I'll do it on the front edge here. And it tapers out to my rim. Now, there's a little step there that needs to be smoothed out. Again, I've left this proud, right? That's a little extra wood that I need here. I've got my resin starting to show here in the middle. So let me stand this up. And I need to see, because it looks weird in my monitor there, I'll have to wait for it to pop up on the screen in your land to see what the colors look like, because they look different on here for me. But I've got this nice roll coming up, and then I've got drops down in. So this resin in here could have been, and it's pink right now, so it depends on what I do with this color out here. This rim could have been black. The idea that I'm playing with in the centers here, and let me see if I can't just find a way to kind of, see if I can stick something under here, hold this up. There. That way I can just kind of talk about it while if it'll stay. There we go. So this center section, where the resin is exposed, think about it, when that was inverted, that would be the bottom of your resin mold. And so typically, let's say you want to do glitter, or you want to do, stay. Wants to not cooperate. We'll make it cooperate though. Hang on. Trying to interfere with my discussion. There we go. this would be the bottom. So anybody who's cast before and has used glitter, artificial stones, inlay, anything that has got a specific gravity heavier than the resin knows that it's going to go, and I'm going to put some air on me, knows that it's going to sink to the bottom, right? Well, when we use our wood piece as our actual mold at the same time, and we're going to have a medium piece where we're going to have resin and wood. When we have it, if we start with it upside down, we can lay out the pattern on the back side. You could cut stars and spokes and spirals. You could do anything to this face you wanted from the back side. When you make your resin pour on the back side, it then fills that because you're actually filling what will become the front. So just like I've done here, once I turn it away and I expose the resin here and the resin here, just imagine if I had done some pattern, whatever I desired coming out through here, that would be showing on what is now the face. And so when you're fighting things that sink, it really could be advantageous to use this as the mold, because there's no mold whatsoever, and gravity is working in your favor. So you've taken and turned the tables on gravity, so to speak. You never win that one, but you can let it work to your favor. Put the things that are going to sink in there, and they're going to be on the face. And with a little bit of forethought and design and engineering, by golly, I think you could come up with some I know you could come up with some pretty cool looking pieces. And people would wonder, how in the world did you come up with that pattern, after the fact? Because we're used to, the typical process is to turn the piece, then cut grooves in it, and then pour it and fill it and so on. Well, again, those highlights that I'm talking about, the specific gravity pieces that sink, they disappear. So we can circumvent that and go about it in a different way. So yeah, here's this goofy piece. It's like the world's worst piece of wood, but it's still going to be pretty nice. And the concept, I tested my concept, was a proof of concept or whatever the fancy term people like to use. It's just called testing an idea, if you ask me. And it works. And there's 1,000,001 varieties and variations that you could do with this. Art, it would be one big clock, wouldn't it? Be a cool clock. So that's what I'll do next. When we were talking early in the broadcast about, well, what can I do to stabilize this wood? Now I'll come in here and seal this wood up, and then it'll cut clean. All right? So I know, because I'm not going to take much more off of here. All right? And I know that I'll get the penetration of whatever I do. Now, the $64 question is, how do I get the color to work the way I want to? And I may be able to get away with dyeing over top of the sealed wood, just like I've done here, because I know that it will change the color and it will stay. I'm going to put, say, a clear lacquer finish on it, so that's not an issue. I'm really pleased how this piece came out. Now over here I have the foam, right? And lesson learned that the polyurethane foam won't dissolve with a solvent. Okay, so I kind of missed the wagon on that one. I will take and just dig that out, scrape it out mechanically. My ice pick and we're good friends. And I'll clean that out, and then I'll fill that crack, and I'll fill this crack, and I'll fill this crack. And I'll use a gel resin. Chromacraft, we carry Sparcraft carries the Chromacraft gel resin, which will go into these cracks and not run out the backside. It won't run. It's nice and thick. Plus the backside is now sealed, so you could actually use anything because it's got nowhere to go. We've made a hermetic seal on the back side, and there's what the backside is looking like right now. I mean, it's not pretty or anything, but then again, we're not going to look at the backside. So this piece of wood does have a lot of character, even if it's an old punky piece. We've got our ambrosia. Once it's smooth, because it is end grain, you'll have all the growth rings showing, and so everything will be circular. So there's a lot of things that we could do here. I mean, there's just a world of possibilities. So I'm really happy the way this worked out. Now I see that it's 11:54, which means it's about 6 minutes till quitting time. I would love to take any questions if anybody's out there. I haven't been able to obviously see who all's here because I kind of had my back to the monitors all morning. But if you got any kind of questions, let's have 5-6 minutes of question and answer. I'd be happy to. I'm going to walk over here, step over here and take a sip because I'm thirsty and it's a little warm and muggy. But please pop me some questions in here real quick, especially before I lose my voice. Boy, that tastes good, cold and wet. Oh, also, if you watched on Saturday, I'm going to have to retire this, here we go, this jacket to a work jacket. Do not get window or expanding spray foam on your clothes and turning jackets. It doesn't come off in the wash. It does not come off. So this one will get resigned to a work jacket over in the shop, and I'll go get another one embroidered up with my name on it over here, and off we go. So I look a little messy today. I mean, we get dirty anyway, but that's the way it is. So I don't see any questions. Come on, guys. Ask me something. Ask me anything. At least I'm not popping up in my gig here. Rich, that was, red eucalyptus, red gum. That was a cool looking tree. I'd like to try and turn some of that sometime. I never turned any of it. Could you route the foam out? Art, I could route the foam out, indeed. If I did that, it would take away the natural split look, the profile. It would have a smooth edge. And I personally don't want, I want it to look jaggedy, to look like some of the other stuff. But yes, you could route it out. And that would be fine. I mean, it's real soft. It's not like it's any big deal to dig it out. You can see I can reach right in here and I can pop it right out. See, it's no biggie. The foam comes right out. And all that matters is at the top edge. You don't see the foam on the top edge. So when you put your color in, see how easy that's coming out? So I'm not concerned about that at all. All right, just get the compressor going and come in here and slip that out of there. Rich, I'd appreciate that. I'd love to try a chunk. Give it a go. Give it a go. So getting the foam out of here, not a big deal. I know that, because I know that I can dissolve styrofoam, polystyrene, and all that, and that's what I was thinking. But this will come right out. These cracks have literally none in them, so these will all fill, and I'll probably just fill these a dark color like black. I'll probably just do something dark black or brown. We have a brown tint, so if you want to make a crack not really look like a crack, look more like the brown of the wood, use a brown resin tint. Chromacraft resin tints have a brown. Green is good, Rich. I don't get to turn enough green wood anymore. Art says you will put resin 8 in the crack then. Yes, I'll put resin in the crack. I'm not sure what the 8 there is, Art. It's probably your phone keyboard typing for you. But yeah, I'll fill these cracks with resin. This one right here, it goes right through here. This one right through here. This big guy, that will get filled. And then I will seal this wood so it will turn cleanly. And I'll come back and cut it, and I'll cut, it looks like it was wanting to cut from the inside out the best. And I'll blend this line right down out to my resin out here, which would be out here or over here is the easiest way to see. So I'll blend, that's why this is a little proud still. And I'll blend this over. I've got my little dish right here. This has got a dome to it, so I've got a number of profiles. This is humped this way. Oh, that drops in. This rolls over. So out of this piece of firewood, as somebody called it, we now have a pretty unique piece that is going to be interesting. It's got a lot of dimension. Going to have neat colors. Going to have neat patterns with the, again, the growth ring is going perfectly around the piece. I did center it right up, dead on the money on the center of the pith. And obviously there is no pith in this anymore. We took care of that. Not that that was an issue because it already split. So. Good deal. I appreciate everybody hanging with me today. I hope you picked up a few tips. Again, think of this concept of using your blank of wood as a mold, working from the back side. Do your profiling on the back side, knowing that you're going to turn away to it on the front. Fill it with what you want. Come up with whatever you want to do. Have your colorations, your highlights, your extra components go into the inside. Think about your design, and then when you turn it away, and there, boom, is your resin exposed. You have a beautiful hybrid piece, utilizing a pretty piece of wood and the pretty resin work that you did. Don't try and make it this big. It takes a lot of resin, but you can if you want to. So play with the idea. If you get into it, let me know. Send me pictures. Raffle off my used jacket. I need it next door. Art, I need it next door. Let me know if you try it. Anybody, there's a few of you out there that I know should try this, and I know this is up your alley, and this kind of stuff. So anyway, I hope you have fun. Y'all have a good, safe week. It's whistle time here. I will see you next Monday. Who knows what's coming up? I'm going to have a great time. Mary Alice wants me to do a video of coloring this. I knew you were going to show up somewhere, Mary. I knew you were hiding out there on me. And I was talking to you when I said somebody needs to try this, and I know who. I was talking to you, Mary Alice. I hope you will. I will do a video of the coloring once I come up with the color that I'm going to use. Okay? I'm going to test it on another piece of wood that's identical, same tree, probably 2 cuts later into the log. So it'll be very, very similar. I'll just take and turn it enough to sand it, and I'll play with the colors and see what color I get. Then I'll come back. That's one of the key things when working with color, and I haven't talked about color out here a lot. When you're dyeing wood, if you have more of the same wood, use it for your test wood before you commit to your final piece. Okay, gang, I'm going to punch out of here. Thank you again. Everybody have a good, safe week, and I will see you next week, and I'll be posting things during the week as I usually do. Stay safe, stay well, and thank you very much. And let me just walk over here and go click.